Welcome to Wesley Impact. Coming up for my thought for today, I'm going to talk about the Great Confession in relation to Thomas and how we look at some of our Aussie sporting heroes and legends, and we see them in this context supporting Wesley Mission to help the homeless. And we start a new series of shows dealing with a Christian understanding of wholeness. For guest Michelle Jorna, chronic pain was an everyday reality. Michelle has worked as a research fellow at Deakin University and the Baker IDI Heart and Diabetes Institute. And has just written a book about her own journey and the links between physical and mental health and our ability to connect with God. Michelle, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Keith.
Look, Michelle, I just want to begin with this pain in your own experience, because you sustained a sporting injury. Tell us how you got it, because I'm fascinated.
When I was young, I was 17, I joined the Army as soon as I was out of high school with the combat engineers in the reserves. And I was playing rugby on an initial employment training course and had an accident while trying to mark the ball, and I got hit from both sides by two men quite bigger than myself and landed with my feet out and ended up not being able to feel my legs and having some spinal damage done.
Look, I confess I've never interviewed a woman who's had a sporting injury in a rugby match before. So tell me, that happened and it created pain, you know, for that 24 hours in hospital, but that and a couple of car accidents made you live with pain, as it were, in your life.
Yeah, I had some whiplash from two accidents in that 2 months was I recovering from the back injury. So I was kind of hit from all different angles, and that damage, although it wasn't anything that required surgery, it did result in chronic pain. And I just, I started to have pain levels that were stopping me from sleeping and that type of thing. And I was having some treatment from my chiropractor. And one day he recognised that it was so much worse than the week before. And he actually asked me, you know, what have you been doing this week? Why is your back completely in spasm? And that was a real kind of aha moment for me in working out, hang on, I think it was because my week was so stressful that my back pain was so much worse.
Let me just say also that you've spoken about a new body of evidence that makes a link between the connection and the importance, what Christians have kind of believed for a long time, but that's that wholeness of life, you know, all connecting together.
Yeah, there's lots now. There's evidence of people that attend church, that pray regularly, that have a personal relationship with God, and also that practice what they preach, and having some significant beneficial health outcomes like longevity, coping with chronic pain, recovery from surgery, all those type of things, and even just better mental health and general well-being. So that's something that I guess I've realised in my own journey, and that God has interwoven all those parts of our health, our spiritual health, our mental health, and our physical health. And I'm really passionate about looking at each aspect and not just working on one and letting the others go to the side.
Well, that's where that your wheel comes in, which people, if they read the books or look, will find it, where everything seems to come together. But we're going to pick that up in a moment, some of those things and some of those aspects together. But before we talk a little bit more about your work, especially the stories of people who've been supported in a group setting, I'd like to pause and welcome Shanti Batsky. Shanti is a regular performer for us, and as our guest, Michelle has shared, stress, anxiety, fear and health are all things that we can take to God. He meets us, does God, as we open our hearts and as we still them. So here's Shanti singing Healer.
You hold my every moment. You calm my raging seas. You walk with me through fire and heal all my disease. I trust in you. I trust in you. I believe you're my healer. I believe you are all I need.
wesleymission.org.au provides a comprehensive look at the work of Wesley Mission. On our website, you'll find information about the wide range of services we provide for you and for your community. You can find all our contact details, published articles, our press releases, and our community research reports. There's more information about Keith Garner and our Christian faith. Visit wesleymission.org.au for more information about all the work of Wesley Mission.
If you like Shanti's music, and I'm sure you do, her details will be online this week. We're back with health researcher Michelle Jorna. You've talked about taking in all aspects of this wheel of, if you like, of life, and seeing each in its own part, taking in those aspects. How important do you think it is to see life like that?
I think to be truly healthy, we've got to look at our mental health and our physical health as well as our spiritual health because of the interaction between them. For myself, I know that the way that I manage my stress levels is spending time with God, that quiet time, reading the Bible, praying, worship, and all of that affects my stress. And when my stress levels decrease, then my physical health has a beneficial result because of it. So I think it's important to take a check of how healthy you are in each area and then work on each individual aspect in order to have the full picture of being truly healthy.
And you work certainly with groups really as well, haven't you? You know, so that you're not just individuals. How important do you think that is?
The group work is really beneficial. I think being accountable to a group and being with people that are like-minded, struggling with the same issues and sharing ways to help each other, this kind of peer group support is really powerful. We've had women that we've been able to pray for in a group and have been able to come out with insights, and that breakthrough for each individual person motivates the rest of the group to try something new or to increase their physical activity and to journal more and to write down their successes, and it becomes a motivational force and an encouragement for each other, knowing that you're not alone, you're doing this together.
And without breaking confidence of a group that's working together, I mean, what are some of the things that emerge out of that group work?
Well, you'd be surprised. Now, women, expect to be talking about their physical activity and what they're eating, but when you look at the underlying causes for some of the behaviours and why we do what we do, people are quite complex. I've had people share about, previous sexual abuse or previous things that people have said over them. I remember one friend of mine remembers as a child hearing someone say, "Pity, she's got such a pretty face," and just those kind of words that were really powerful and marked the way that she then acted because of that poor self-esteem. And to be able to just share it, there's something really important and releasing in just confessing or being able to share with others and having that kind of support and encouragement, and then being encouraged to continue on and to ask God for that healing, and then or seek counselling in an area that you might need to address before you look at the reasons why you've gained the weight or the reasons why it's so difficult to change your behaviour. So success breeds success, and when you have a friend in the group that something's been a breakthrough for, it's really powerful.
Look, let me just refer to some of those TV shows if I can at the moment. They have enormous pictures for me. Some of them might be good, some of the outcomes, but there's also the thinks of people greatly overweight running around a field and doing exercise. We won't give an advertisement as to which programmes we're talking about, but there are a number of programmes today that are all dealing, and you use the word esteem, and that clearly emerges out of some of the things that you see there. I mean, how good are these programmes that tell you can lose, 10 kilos by next Thursday, and then, how good are they for people?
It's really tough when you offer this quick fix scenario, because if you think about how long it took you to gain those extra 20 or 30 kilos, it could be 20 years, and all of the complex behaviours and the reasons why you got where you are probably a bit more complex than just doing a 10-week course or a 12-week course. Weight loss, we'd like to look at health benefits, so rather than the scale weight, looking at how can you increase your personal fitness and your personal health. And I guess some of those shows can be a real motivator for people. So if you see people are doing some vigorous activity, maybe you think, I could do that myself, or get up off the couch and start walking, or do something positive for your own health. But I think it's important to look at the root causes and actually look at why you're doing what you're doing, what's wrong with your environment, how can you change all these different aspects of your life to take one step by step forward to a goal of attaining kind of true physical health, rather than setting a goal that you're probably not going to achieve on your own without your own personal dietitian, medical support team and personal trainer. It's actually quite tricky to get that type of weight off so quickly. quickly and then to be able to maintain it. We want to look at a lifestyle change, something that you can do for the rest of your life rather than losing a ton of weight really quickly and then having the failure of putting it back on afterwards.
And it's not a competition bit with others, it's always a competition only with yourself, isn't it? And dealing with those things. You've talked about scripture being important in terms of group. Have you in your mind any scriptures that you think are specifically important?
Yeah, my favourite one would be one of the Psalms where David's crying out to God in Psalm 143, and where he says, you know, help me, Lord, for my spirit fails. This whole like crying out to God for that strength in your moment of weakness. And I remember printing that out and putting it up on the fridge. So every time you were, you know, emotionally eating or feeling so tired, I've got 3 little boys in that extreme fatigue. I always just want to snack something high in sugar to keep me, you know, going. And I used to stick it on my fridge and just think, hang on, let's press the pause button before I eat something out of the fridge. Let's just say this psalm and pray to God, give me your strength because I need it to get through today, and I need your, you know, your help, something a higher power than my own willpower. So a daily reality of just crying out to God and asking for His help has been yeah, really powerful for me personally. So
you've written these books, which really now appear in 2 parts of a course. But tell me, have you got any other plans for other books or other thoughts?
So this one's book 1, deals with physical activity and strength training and the physiological benefits to your body with strength training. I'm really passionate about that area. Just, you know, whatever age you are or life stage you're at, strength training really does help you in every way. It looks at mental health and spiritual health. And then book 2 looks at the nutrition side of things, your metabolism, the physiologic, you know, the way that our body loses weight. I remember one of the ladies in the group saying to me once, I just needed someone to tell me how it works, how your body works, how your body works with the nutrients that you eat. And once you're armed with that education, you can make some really good lifestyle decisions. You know how to read nutrition labels, and all of a sudden you're empowered to make some proactive changes for your health. So book 2 is on nutrition, metabolism, body image, self-care, and just how God sees you and how God, you know, if we can, yeah.
Look, it's so exciting. Sounds like there's a lot more books as well, might follow later. Michelle, you've really given us an insight to somebody who began with something that might have been considered a problem, but turned it into an opportunity and something positive, and you're sharing that with other people. And I hope people will visit our website and visit your site and learn a little bit more of that work. So thanks ever so much for sharing with us today.
Visit wesleymission.org.au/impact to download the news magazine of Wesley Mission. Impact magazine has all the latest news and information about our work, articles and featured case studies about our Ministry of Care, and more information about the services we provide.